Hello and welcome to Under the Halos post-match review of the Burnley game at St Mary's today. I'm Geoff. This is Kevin. Kev, kick us off with your thoughts, mate.
My thoughts of the Burnley game are very frustrating. I thought we played into Sean Dyche's hands with his tactics. Burnley, to me, they seemed comfortable throughout the match. First 20 minutes, Burnley had most of the possession. Then we started to we looked shaky from the start, I thought, and then we gradually progressed into the match. I thought Vestergaard during the match seemed one of our outstanding players. He was getting into many tackles, as well as Alex McCarthy pulled off a couple of great saves. I thought one thing I was really frustrated during this match was Nathan Redmond. He kept on losing the ball. He's very sloppy, and when he did get the ball in good, promising areas, he didn't kind of run with the ball. And there was opportunities for counter attacks, and he just didn't counter attack. What's your thoughts, Geoff?
Well, I came to St Mary's this morning hoping for a commanding performance, full of intensity. First game of the season. I think your home's got to be a fortress, and it wasn't really what I saw. First 15, 20 minutes, we barely got the ball out of our own half. I think Joe Hart could have bought a book to read today. He didn't have much to do, certainly in the first half. I thought after the first 15, 20 minutes, I did think we improved a little bit. But on the whole, the first half just wasn't good enough. I think the second half was a lot better. I was quite impressed with some of the substitutions that Hughes made. When Ings came on, and who was the other one that came on?
Elanusi.
Elanusi
came on.
Yeah,
as well.
Unfortunately, Stuart Armstrong went off injured.
I thought he was one of our best players up to that point.
Yeah.
The thing is, Burnley, I thought they were kind of like trying to take him out of the match. They was giving him a couple of tackles, and I don't know how long he's going to be out injured for now. That's that. He didn't look too. He was walking off. He was limping. He might be out for some time.
So yeah, I was very disappointed with the first half. Second half was a lot better, but I just felt that we being the home team should have created more, should have looked more likely to score, should have got on top of them more. For me, I just felt that we were letting them boss us too much. They were still having too much possession. They were still asking more questions of us than we were of them. They were creating more chances. I just kind of stood there watching the game, and I just kind of got the feeling that they just looked like more likely to score.
Did you get the impression that, because Burnley are in the Europa League, I felt they played a couple of more competitive games to Saints. They looked a bit more hungry. They looked a bit more fresher. Whereas it's our first game of the season, and it kind of takes time to gradually build and get more match fitness. And in the pre-season, we lost 3-0, and that kind of brings out a bit of cobwebs. You're a bit shaky, a bit nervous. You don't want that to happen in your first game of the season. Did you get that kind of like?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. But I was hoping that because Burnley had travelled to Turkey and played in Europa League, I was hoping that they'd be a little bit more tired, and that we could play with intensity, get on top of them, and then tire them out. And as the game went on, I was hoping they'd tire out more than they did. But they looked very organised and in comfortable and in control of their own game. I thought
during the second half, as the game was going on, Burnley were tiring out. You could actually see it. And I thought when Ings came on and Elanusi came on, there was more chances being created. And for me, towards the end of the game, I thought we could have actually pinched it, but I think the 0-0 was a fair result. But just frustrating. It was really frustrating, and I think we could have, if tactically, I thought from the start of the game we played it in the wrong kind of way. I thought we should have played Austin Ings up front. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I came to St Mary's today hoping that Ings would start. He didn't. I don't think Austin had the particularly good game.
No.
I thought the substitutions improved us quite a bit, and maybe it's just a question of it was a bit too little, too late. maybe if he made him right at the beginning of the second half or from the start, or maybe after half an hour, that might have made a difference. So I'm hopeful that we can see a lot more things, and there's more to come from the team. But just disappointing, 0-0 at home. It's almost too predictable.
Who did you think was man of the match today?
For Saints, I would say Alex McCarthy. He pulled off 4 or 5 good saves for me, I think.
I think he pulled off about 8 saves in general today. I think in the first half, the one that was a low down shot. I'm not too sure who the Burnley player was, but it was a pretty good save, because if Burnley had gone 1-0 up against us, I think they would have sat back and even more. It would have been frustrating, even more frustrating. But I thought, like I said, Vestergaard for me, it was. It reminds me of this old-fashioned defender a bit, like gets his foot tackles in, bullies the attackers. I thought, for me, he was up there for man of the match as well. As I thought, the defence looked alright. I just don't think attackingly we haven't in the transfer market we haven't gone out and purchased a creative midfielder that can unlock defences.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the game and you're thinking, well, we don't look like scoring, but they look like more likely to get a goal than we did. But the thing is, if we go 1-0 behind, then we've got to get 2 to win. And no disrespect to Burnley, they're a decent enough side, but they're only Burnley. They're not a top Premier League side. They're they're top 7 on their own merit. They're not like a top team. We should be looking to beat teams like Burnley, especially at home. If we want to finish mid-table or above, then I think they're the kind of teams we've got to be looking at beating.
Are you hopeful going into the next match against Everton? Do you reckon we can change things in the next week?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's things we can change. And I think there's things we can work on. And I think you got to take some of the positives from today, in the sense of we didn't lose, we didn't concede a goal, we got a 0-0 draw because we kept a clean sheet. It might not excite much of us now, but it's still something we can take into next week,
kind of build on,
and maybe try and build on it.
I think going into next week, we just need to have a little bit more purpose going forward, and it's going to be a different game to the Burnley game, because with the injury of Stuart Armstrong, we might have to play Elanusi. And to me, during pre-season and even coming on today, he looked a handful. Yeah, and I'm sure that that would excite quite a lot of fans. Yeah, you want a team that's going to be attacking and creating, as well as solid in the defence. And I think at the present moment, I think we're okay in defence, but there is areas to improve on. But I think going forward, we could. It's just attacking. Just if you don't. Put the ball in the back of the net, then it's similar to last season. I think last season it was very frustrating.
Yeah. It is frustrating. When you have the possession, you come forward and then you go sideways, backwards, and then you get in the ball in the box and there's no one on the end of it, or the pass doesn't go where you want it to go, or the pass is too long. But it's a long way to go. It's only the first game, and like I said, we've got to try and build on it.
They're kind of lucky that I haven't did a post-match review on the pre-season matches, because I was pretty fuming and pretty angry about the 3-0 loss against Borussia Mönchengladbach. I can't pronounce their name at all. Sorry to be offended. And the 3-2 against Celta Vigo, I wasn't impressed with that game either. I thought in that match, we went 2-0 down, and then we got lucky to get back to 3-2. I just thought throughout pre-season we should have gone into it wanting to win all of pre-season matches, and I think the habits from pre-season have come into this Burnley match. For me, I think we're 2 games behind of Burnley, in my opinion. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and maybe next week it'll be an example of that, because obviously Burnley have been playing in Europe, so.
How do you think we're going to manage Everton, and what do you reckon? What's your score prediction?
It's not a ground that we've got a lot of good results from over the years.
There's a voodoo off the ground,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a bit of not one of our best places to go for results, but I'd like to think we can get something there. And ideally, you want the win, but I kind of feel that if we leave with a half decent result, we might end up just getting a draw again. I think it could end up being a 0-0. But
I would be happy with a draw. The last season, I predicted a draw, and it was a draw. But
if I had to say what I thought the result would be next week, now I'd have to say 0-0.
I would be happy with that. But as long as we can keep Richarlison quiet and keep. Apart from that, I don't think they have. And their striker Tunsil, I don't think he created much against Wolves. I think, I think if we can keep those two quiet, then we stand a good chance. What do you make of our new signings and Ings? Were you happy that we bring him in?
Yeah, I was delighted with the signing of Ings. I think he's proven to score goals at Premier League level. And I think as long as he can stay injury free, I think he's quite capable of 15, possibly even 20 goals a season if he gets the right service and the right chance and the right game time, etc. So that remains to be seen. But it's certainly a signing that I see as a positive. I'm happy with it. Local lad. Be a nice story for him to think he can come back down here, score goals, and be a success with us.
He seems, for me, coming on the pitch today, he seems hungry because at Liverpool, I think he was like a frustrated player. He's a quality player. He's having that quality with Burnley, and then he's gone to Liverpool and he's basically been put into the shadows. And I think he's a type of player that's got a point to prove.
Yeah, definitely he's got a point to prove, and he needs game time, and I think he'll get more game time with us. And there's that little bit more.
There's one downside. I thought Gabardini was playing most of our pre-season matches, and it must be frustrating for a player like Gabardini to play most of pre-season and then be pushed onto the bench. I don't know what your view on that is.
Yeah. Well, I was having a conversation with someone behind me, something similar, different player, but we were talking about Matt Targett. How supposedly he could have gone to Fulham on a permanent deal, where he was playing a lot last season and whatever, and yet he wasn't even on the bench today. I don't think so. It must be disappointing for a player.
I thought
from that point of view.
I thought pre-season Matt Targett looked pretty impressive. Some of the balls, and today that's the type of player that we were kind of missing. The player that can whip good quality balls into Austin. But I think that's one thing. Maybe in the next upcoming games he can get a run in the squad. Maybe if Bertrand gets injured.
Yeah. No, that could well be. But it must be frustrating for a player when they could leave potentially believing they can play regular first team football and then they don't even get on the bench. But yeah, they said there's a long way to go, so we'll see.
I think that's a wrap then.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on the Everton game.
I want to say thank you for listening to all our podcasts, and also thank you to listening to us today, even though it was a very frustrating result.
You can follow us on YouTube and on Facebook under the Halo